Welcome back to Black and Blue Garage. A couple of weeks ago I installed this output shaft into my 241 GM transfer case. This is from Tom Wood's Custom Drive Shafts. It takes the old output shaft out and puts this shorter one in so that you could use a flange and have a better U-joint and point your axle straight up at your transfer case. If you don't know what an SYE kit is, look it up because it's pretty fantastic. I dropped this when I was putting this thing together and it broke all of these ears off. And the ears around the outside is actually what keeps this thing from rotating as the shaft spins this little gear on the inside. So instead of admitting that I did something stupid and dropped this and broke it up a bunch, what I did was put this thing back together so that I could finish the video. So what I did was went on Amazon and ordered one and it was very inexpensive. And there it is right there, brand new part. It was fairly inexpensive. If you need a 241 transfer pump, they're pretty much all the same. Just make sure it looks like your old one. And I did drop an affiliate link in the description below. Now I need some RTV and a Diet Dr. Pepper. And I got all the RTV that I put on last video off of there. It was the correct amount because none of the RTV, not too much RTV squeezed out into the inside, which is good because you don't want that. Now I'm going to redress it and put this thing back together for the final time until I rebuild it next time. Seems good. Okay, so now that that's on, you can line up this pump gear. Hopefully, there we go. Then we line up the spring. Put that front output bearing in, and there it is. Alright, I can torque those up in a little bit once this RTV has set up. Now that this stuff is on there, we could go ahead and set this ring in. Now if you remember last video, I was putting these rings on with a couple of pry bars. I did go to work over the week and I did find the tool that I was talking about. I did misquote because that tool is also called a circlip pliers, and here's what they look like. Now these are a smaller one, but you can see how on the edge there's kind of like a serrated little place to bite into or hold whatever circlip that you're trying to expand, and it basically holds the circlip perfectly so that you can expand and contract it. So put the ring on there, and this is way easier than trying to use a couple of pliers. I have a bigger version of this at work, but this works just fine for that. We want to put our toner gear back on, or toner ring, or toner gear, whatever you'd like to call it. We'll put on our next ring. And if you've watched the video from a couple of weeks ago of where I was putting this shaft in, you can pretty much see how difficult it was then to how it is when you use the correct tool for the job. Use the correct tool for the job. Okay, now that we got our toner ring in there and our pump and this cover piece, now we're going to work on getting this on there. And when you're taking stuff apart and putting it back together, it's important to remember to clean off all the seal, the gasket, the RTV or whatever, because leaving the old gasket or RTV on there could cause the new stuff to leak. Just as a side note, you can kind of see these little grooves in here, and that's where this cover would hold. That's where that cover would hold this pump in to keep it from rotating. Now this one might have worked out just fine, but I didn't really like how these teeth were broken, and as the whole thing is weakened, this pump, if it ever locked up, could spin inside this filter and break this one last tooth, and a little bit left on these little teeth here. So we'll just go ahead and goop up what I've got here, just like I did last week, or maybe 2 weeks by the time you're watching this video. I've already got my speed sensor installed right here, if you can see that, but that's okay because it's gonna miss this gear just fine. The only other thing that we need to make sure is that this hole goes over this shaft right here, and then the rest will seal up just fine. Now, if you go back and watch the video from 2 weeks ago, you can hear when I push this down onto this cover. If you listen really closely, there was some crunching, just like that. And yes, that's from dirt. I didn't do a very good job cleaning because I knew I was going to take this thing apart anyway to change out this pump. But you definitely want to make sure that all the dirt is away from that, and you don't have any dirt getting into your RTV from the point of putting it on and assembling your parts. No crunchy. Okay, so last week we also talked about putting RTV on these bolts because the threaded holes for this lower cover holes are actually go through the cover and are open. If you pulled this bolt from the bottom of the transfer case, you'd actually just have all your transfer case oil or ATV pour out of this thing. It's also another way you can empty your transfer case is through this hole with one of these bolts, then through the actual drain plug, if the drain plug ever strips out. So I'm going to dress up these bolts just a little bit and shove them in there. And I believe the socket size you need for these bolts are either 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. I still need to buy some impact sockets. Okay, now we can put our Tom Woods drive shaft seal back on, and then we'll put our Tom Woods flange back on. That's pretty much it. That's how you change out the oil pump on your 241 transfer case. I think it's the same for the 261, 271, 231. For all the trucks inside, they're pretty much all the same. Just make sure that you verify that, and also take this apart and look at your pump before you order one. Amazon is pretty good at shipping things to you promptly, especially if you have Amazon Prime. So don't forget that I have an affiliate link for this pump from Amazon. I also have an affiliate link for this special circlip pliers from Amazon as listed in the description below. So go ahead and pick yourself one of these up. It's going to make this job way easier. So a short video today. Thanks for watching. Now I'm going to get on this truck and start doing some other stuff so that you have something to watch next week. Thanks for watching. God bless. See you next weekend. It's 100% not perfect.